Hey guys, and welcome back to Soback Sports, and I'm Soback with another video. And today, I'll be going over all the awards and who I think will end up winning each and every award in each category. And if you want to see videos similar to like this, please don't forget to subscribe and like and comment below. And to start off with the awards, we'll go with the finalists for AP Comeback Player of the Year. And the finalists are Joe Flacco, Damar Hamlin, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, and Tua Tagovailoa. And as you can see, there's 4 quarterbacks and 1 safety, and it seems that the media is leaning towards Damar Hamlin. And while yes, it's important that Damar gets recognized for the fact that that incident happened and how he was about near death and came back and was able to play a game after that serious injury and serious potentially life-threatening circumstance. But in terms of the award and whatnot, I feel like it should either go to Joe Flacco or Baker Mayfield, because think about it, Baker from the start of last year, we didn't even know he was going to be a starter because there were reports that Kyle Trask could be the starting quarterback for the Buccaneers, and the fact that Baker Mayfield was able to win the job and essentially take the Buccaneers, who weren't even supposed to have a good season this year, to the playoffs and win a playoff game against the Eagles, who were in the Super Bowl last year. Think about that. And yeah, Baker deserves a lot of props, and Joe Flacco on top of that, I think that he deserves it a little bit more, just solely because he came back off the couch at 38 years old and was balling out of his mind on the Cleveland Browns and took them to a playoff game. I mean, obviously they didn't win that game, but he did enough for that team to not go under and posted a lot of good stats as well. So if it were me, I would be between Baker Mayfield, Joe Flacco. Matthew Stafford and Tua have were just coming back from injuries, are off years really. And Tua was supposed to have a good year last year, but because of the head injuries, concussions, it kind of took him out of the season. So I guess he has Comeback Player of the Year nomination. Makes sense, but I don't know. I think I would either choose Baker or Joe Flacco. Probably leaning Joe Flacco, because being 38 years old and kind of coming back and playing and taking the team to the playoffs as well is kind of impressive. But I feel like it's going to still go to Damar Hamlin, to be honest, because that's just how the NFL kind of works. So next up, we're going to assistant head coach. And I feel like it's going to either Ben Johnson or Todd Monken. Or honestly, any of the top 3 right there, I think is a really good shot of getting it, because the Ravens this year looks unstoppable. I think Ben Johnson could win it out just because of what the Lions' story was. The Lions taking them to their first ever NFC Championship game, divisional game, in a really long time. And I think the story is there. I feel like Ben Johnson deserves it. Jim Schwartz did a great job with this defense for the Browns. And Bobby Slowick has also deserved some props as well. I'm glad he's in the mix, because he really changed the way the offense was in the Houston Texans. And he did a really good job with CJ Stroud. But if it were up to me, I'd probably take Ben Johnson just because of the storyline. And Mike Macdonald and Monken, you couldn't really go wrong with either if that was end up being the choice. But yeah, those are my top 3. I think Ben Johnson takes this one. Next up is the Coach of the Year finalist. I think it's easy to say. It became a lot more clearer now with the playoffs being the case, but Dan Campbell should be in the I don't know, because it's I feel like he made a bigger impact in getting to the playoffs. So I think Dan Campbell definitely deserves this award because of how he was able to overcome so many obstacles when it came to building this team, developing and creating a culture in the Detroit Lions, which the Detroit Lions for a long time have been known for losing. And the fact that this is the year he took them really far in the playoffs as well, give him all the props nonetheless. Harbaugh goes without saying because he has the best record in the league. D'Amico Ryans is also a good one as well because he took a team that wasn't supposed to be really good already and made them a really good playoff team in the Houston Texans. Kyle Shanahan, obviously, you're on the 49ers, the best record in the NFC. Like, you're going to get props for that. Kevin Stefanski was also pretty big, of a head coaching candidate because of how much turnover there was at the quarterback position, how unstable the quarterback position was throughout the year, and he was able to still take the team to the playoffs. I think there was a stat where he was the first head coach to make it the playoffs with 4 different quarterback starting. So that's pretty good. That's also a really good candidate as well. So I think it's kind of hard because there's so many different storylines for coach of the year, and I think what the NFL is probably going to go towards is Dan Campbell just because of the storyline. Same with Ben Johnson from the previous one. I think Dan Campbell's probably going to get it. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to Kevin Stefanski or D'Amico Ryans for taking a team through their trials and tribulations from either the previous season or this season, really. So my guess is Dan Campbell, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's any of these 3. Or no, any of D'Amico Ryans or Kevin Stefanski. Now, Defensive Rookie of the Year. This has been a tough one. If I'm being real, the Chicago Bears and Tyreek Stevenson should be in this conversation because as a cornerback, he had a rough start to the season, but he's outperformed so many of these players. Devin Witherspoon, yes, former Illini, but I believe that Tyreek Stevenson on the Chicago Bears should have been in consideration for Defensive Rookie of the Year. But anyways, now that I got that out of the way, we're going to go with seeing Will Anderson Jr. had a really decent year. He started off pretty slow, but did his thing. Jalen Carter had a great start to the season, but he kind of fell off as the defense kind of trickled down to Matt Patricia. So I don't blame him, but he did fine for a rookie, but nothing to surprise me at the end of the season. Joey Porter Jr. was fine, nothing crazy. Kobe Turner did a really good job for the Los Angeles Rams defense. He was a great defensive tackle. I forgot what his stats is, but he had a decent amount of solo tackles and did pretty good for that scheme. And Devin Witherspoon had a solid start to the year because he was making a lot of headlines and interceptions and stuff. But he kind of disappeared throughout this season. So I wouldn't give it to Devin. This is kind of a tough one. I feel like it's a very big toss-up. I think my guess is that they probably will give it to Will Anderson just because of the name and how he went 3rd overall in the draft. And overall, out of all the teams, Will Anderson went far in the playoffs. I know this is a regular season award, but I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to Jalen Carter or Witherspoon because of the name. But Kobe Turner kind of deserves it too. Ooh, this is tough. This is really tough. I think that it's probably going to go to Will Anderson just because of the year he had. He was able to develop with D'Amico Ryans. Yeah, I think Will Anderson is a solid shout. But I wouldn't be surprised if it were Jalen Carter or Devin Witherspoon. Now, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I mean, this is a really tough one. I believe it should be Puka or CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud has proven a lot. If he is not the MVP, CJ Stroud should be Offensive Rookie of the Year. But Puka is a close second for me. Because while Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs did have great seasons, Puka went 5th round. In the 5th round as a wide receiver, and that's hard to do. Hard to get. And the Rams struck gold on him. Bijan had a good year. Just even with Alex Smith's god-awful play calling and not putting him in when he needed, not utilizing him further. I believe that if Alex Smith used Bijan Robinson more, the Atlanta Falcons would be in the playoffs right now. But hey, no, we're not talking about Atlanta Falcons right now. That's another video. CJ Stroud, I think, should win this. But I wouldn't be surprised if Puka wins. Just because of the story. I think it's between CJ Stroud and Puka. My guess is CJ Stroud, just because CJ Stroud had an insane season. He was in the MVP conversation this year, which is crazy for a rookie. And yeah, I think that CJ Stroud takes this. Now it gets interesting because we have Defensive Player of the Year. And for most of the year, it was Myles Garrett. It was Myles Garrett by a long shot. Like, none of these teams were crazy or had a crazy defense like the Browns. The Browns were so scary, like, throughout the season. However, at the end, like, injuries piled up, Myles Garrett wasn't the same because of attrition. The Browns really relied on him. Max Crosby had a really good year, and Deron Bland had broke the record for pick sixes within a season. I think he had like 6, maybe. TJ Watt obviously is dog. Michael Parsons, dog. Like, all of them have been good. I feel like Myles Garrett, it's between Myles Garrett and Deron Bland, because like I think Deron Bland, just because he broke that record, that pick 6 record this season, I think they might give them the edge over Myles Garrett. But I feel like Myles Garrett should win this award, just because of how much of a great season Myles Garrett had. And he was just a dominant force within not only the AFC North, but the AFC in general. Everyone would just I think overall it should go to him. Okay. Before that, let's before we do MVP, we're gonna go and see what. Okay, I think this is the last one. Yeah, it is the last one. Okay, Offensive Player of the Year. Whew. Okay, so this is a tough one. I think Christian McCaffrey wins this, and here's why. Because I feel like the lock for MVP, which I'll get into a bit, has been set. So McCaffrey will probably not win MVP. But to be fair, I believe Christian McCaffrey should win MVP. But I feel like because he's a running back and it's a QB-driven league, I think Christian McCaffrey wins Offensive Player of the Year as a consolation. But it's still a great consolation prize nonetheless, because McCaffrey had a great year. He had only one game where he didn't even have a touchdown, which is mind-boggling in this league. One of the most consistent running backs, one of the most athletic running backs we've seen in a long time. CeeDee Lamb had a great year. Lamar had a great year. Tyreek also in the same category for MVP for me, but like he did have some injuries and concerns, but he didn't play as well near the end of the season. But yeah, I think McCaffrey takes this. Dak, was in the conversation for MVP too, but it is what it is. My bet's MVP. Sorry, Christian McCaffrey's Offensive Player of the Year. And now the big award that has been plaguing NFL media throughout the season. And one thing I'm kind of surprised about is Josh Allen in the conversation. I agree their season has been up and down, but like I don't think this is like an insane season for Josh Allen. I know the stats are there and to prove it, but I don't know. I don't think that he played like an MVP caliber player. That's just me. My guess is that Lamar is going to get the MVP. It's probably leaning towards that according to media. If you look at any media right now, Lamar Jackson's definitely their choice for MVP. Christian McCaffrey, however, is my MVP just because of how much of an important factor he is for the 49ers offense. And without him, the 49ers wouldn't be as dominant and wouldn't be even the number 1 seed, really, without him. Dak was an MVP candidate for most of the year, but I don't know. I feel like McCaffrey or Lamar for me. And I think, I would want McCaffrey to win. I want a running back to win and not being a QB award. I think it's going to go to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson ends up winning this award. And yeah, I think that concludes all the awards, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so that's it for the awards. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think for each one. Do you agree, disagree with any of my choices? Do you agree with what the finalists are for each category? I want to know down in the comments below. So please let me know. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.